Hey everybody, I'm back to do some more ink swatching. I went ahead and pre-made some of my preferred layout for ink swatch cards on these Col-O-Dex rotary cards. I just find that it lets me get to swatching a little bit quicker, and then I don't have to waste time making those ahead of time. Just gonna give my dip nib pen a quick rinse because it looked like there was maybe some leftover ink from our last little swatching session. Today I'm going to be swatching Sailor Ink Studio number 452, which is sort of like a dusky purple. Pilot Iroshizuku To-Ro ink, which is a really pretty yellow that's got a slight tinge of orange to it. And then an Atlas exclusive Robert Oster signature ink Polar Vortex. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that was from a big winter storm that Chicago had to go through not too long ago, and they commemorated it with an ink. Those clever kids at Atlas. So that's the To-Ro. Isn't that pretty? I've been on the hunt for a good yellow ink. Not necessarily to use for writing, but more for art. I'm trying to work my way up to doing some watercolor work with fountain pen ink. So I'm trying to get some options going. So let's take a look at this To-Ro from Iroshizuku. It is a really pretty yellow. It's very saturated. When you get the ink loaded correctly into the dip nib tip, it writes a little finer. One of the other videos that I was doing, Robert Oster Fire and Ice, it was well overloaded and it just puddled everywhere. When it's loaded right, you actually get a pretty nice line. So see, you're learning right along with me. I don't know whether this ink would be considered a shading ink because it kind of looks like it does, but then again, to me, being a newbie, all ink looks like it's shading, depending on how well it puddles. So I will leave that and I will go and investigate more fully. And come back and fill that in later. But in the meantime, gorgeous ink, huh? And as always, no ghosting, no bleed through. This paper that these Col-O-Dex rotary cards are made from. Anna Reinert from the Well-Appointed Desk, you have made an incredible product. Let's do another couple. If I'm not mistaken, this Sailor number 452 was referenced on The Pen Addict by Mike and maybe Brad as well as one of their favorites. And I am really big into anything that can be described as dusky. And that to me looks like a dusky purple. I'm very much into a muted color palette. You wouldn't be able to tell from these samples that I've done already with the vibrant colors over there, but I really do love a muted vintage tone. Just drying out this dip nib and making sure that I've got everything out of it before I dunk it into another vial of ink. I don't want to cross-contaminate. That looks pretty good. I like the sailor bottles because the neck on these is nice and wide, so I can keep the neck of my dip nib pen fairly clean. Oh, that's great. I think I explained in another video, at first I thought these little squiggles that I'm doing were just something cool that Helen from the Coffee Monsters Co. and Corolla were doing, because they're very creative people and they actually use their fountain pen inks to create art. And I thought, oh, that's just a really creative use, but when you do something like that, you're creating a puddle and it just shows off ink properties in a different way. So I've started doing that myself. Really laying that ink thick. I want to see what this ink can do before I try to go put it on some expensive paper. No ghosting, no bleed through. These cards are amazing. We'll just set that aside to dry and we'll quickly do this last one. I know that this video is running long and I apologize for that. Sometimes I get caught up in making things pretty. I think this is just a shading ink. I don't think that this has sheen or shimmer to it, but it's a good idea, good practice to be in to gently agitate your inks regardless. Sometimes chemistry's weird and you want to make sure that your inks are mixed properly. And again, making sure that I don't have anything, including water, in my dip nib because I don't want to dilute these inks. This is one of those skinny necks. Let's see how clean I can keep this. This is Robert Oster Polar Vortex. Oh, that's a really pretty gray. My all-time favorite gray of late has been Melancholic Gray by Bungu Box. But this is going to probably give it a run for its money. That is a nice, moody gray. Because this is an exclusive. I'll put where I got it from. Oops, smudged it a little bit. Wabi sabi. Polar Vortex. That is correct. All right. Those are my 3 samples. Have a great day, guys.